Hi, Ralph.
Oh, how you doing,
Nice
chap?
to meet you. Thanks for coming to Bright Ideas Clearview's podcast.
No worries at all.
Welcome to have you on. Do you want to tell the viewers a bit about yourself and what you do at Clearview?
Yeah, so I'm Ralph Bates, Head of Business Development at Clearview Intelligence. Worked in the transport technology industry for about 15 years now, getting involved in all sorts of transport data and nerdy things like that. But yeah, love it.
Is there anywhere you've been before Clearview, or is it in the industry?
It's very much that being the background for, as I say, about 15 odd years now. Before that was a little bit of sort of technical work, project management work. And if we're going way back in time, it all sort of started out in the world of sort of retail. So selling things has kind of been ingrained in my soul
whole life.
from early on, yeah.
Absolutely, no worries. So a few questions sort of today. Take them as you will. But we've got a new initiative, which is Live Labs 2.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit about it, what it is, and where it's going?
Yeah, it's fascinating. So Live Labs is an Adept-funded or DFT-funded £30 million project where we're looking at a whole host of different initiatives for decarbonising our road networks.
Yeah.
So there's 7 different groups within that, and the sort of funding was all kind of bid for by various local authorities, and that got split into different categories. So there's 7 different categories. One of which being kind of road surface materials, some being kind of other kind of low carbon initiatives about recycling, grass cuttings, all different things about biodiversity. We are focused on decarbonising street lighting.
Okay.
So we're looking specifically at how do we reduce our carbon impact with lighting our roads, or, and this is where it gets us a little bit more involved, alternatives to traditional street lighting.
Okay.
So moving away from the lighting columns that we see littering our road networks, moving away from having to dig trenches, lay cables, and use energy for lighting our road networks. We're looking at alternative ways in which we can do that.
What ways are they?
So there's a few different things. There's kind of appropriate lighting. So it's about making sure that we're not just kind of putting highway spec lighting absolutely everywhere. We're looking at what can we do with low-level pedestrian lighting. But in the roadway, we're looking at how do we remove that lighting completely and actually move to improving lane delineation through active road studs, which is where we come in.
A couple of these in front of us.
Exactly that. And things like improved white lining.
Yep.
To basically make sure that drivers can kind of see where they're going. We're making the roads as safe as they would be with lighting, but with really, really low carbon options.
Okay, very nice. So with the active road studs, is there environmental impact? Is there a cost impact? Why are they better than street lighting?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. When we started this session, we didn't really have good data on kind of carbon comparisons with street lighting. We had some really good data from National Highways about energy usage versus sort of cost and carbon manufacturing of our Solarlite. And we didn't really have any other benchmarks, but the Live Labs project has kind of given us the ability to actually now capture some of this carbon mapping data from street lighting manufacturers. And one of the big headlines is that for the manufacture of a single highway specification streetlight lantern, so just the bit at the top, just the LED bit, not the column, not the install, not the power, not the cables, you can manufacture a kilometre's worth of our Solarlite.
Wow.
So massive difference just in the sort of carbon side of things. And the carbon is the kind of the driving focus of the project.
Course, yeah.
That being said, we need to understand whether it's a commercially viable solution to do that, because despite carbon savings being a massive part of the driving force with our sort of changes in the industry, we still need to make sure that it's cost effective.
Of course,
And you can have the lowest carbon solution in the world, but if it's really expensive, sadly, it's not going to get adopted. So we need to make sure that we're kind of ticking all these other boxes as well. And some of the early figures that are coming out of the project, we're about halfway through now, so there's still some more evidence to capture. Our benchmark for measurement is over a 40-year term. So 40 years is the standard life cycle of a lighting column. So we're kind of using that as our measuring stick, if you like. And what we're seeing is about 60% cost saving over a 40-year term. So
not bad at all.
hard to kind of ignore
Hard to say no, really.
Yeah, and that's where we are now. That's where we
Yeah.
are. So we've got this really strong evidence base from all the route safety work that we've done as Clearview, over the last 51 years, to say that, our solutions make the road safer for drivers. We've worked on dangerous parts of the network, and our solutions are used commonly on, dark parts of the network, sharp bends, dangerous junctions, things like that. We've got a really good evidence base to support that solution in that environment. So when they've kind of turned around and said, well, we just want to use this as a mainstream alternative to street lighting, we're quite confident that we're going to tick that safety box.
Of course, yeah.
But we are capturing some evidence to make sure that the sites are safe when we turn the lights off.
Yeah.
So that's the next phase of the project.
Yeah, you don't want to be all dark at the end of the day, do you?
No, we need to keep bright.
How do you love our new sign?
Cracking bit of kit.
I heard through the grapevine at the Live Labs 2 Adept of exhibition that you won the Dragon's Den pitch.
Yes, yeah.
So well done for that.
Thank
you. Do you want
you.
to tell us a bit more about it?
Yeah, really nerve-wracking experience, kind of going, okay, you've got to throw yourself in front of these industry stakeholders, high profile, the DFT,
the big guys,
National Highways, a chap there from Atkins Realis, all really senior guys that are all really excited about kind of changing the way that we do things. And we're really passionate about what we do. So it made sense that we just kind of had to do it. We had to kind of jump in. I say I threw myself into it.
You did it
like a madman.
Yeah.
But it was really important, and I totally cocked it up.
Doesn't sound like that, but
I didn't get to the punchline. As you can probably tell, I waffled on way too long. So I was talking about all the fantastic things that we do and kind of the evolution of our product and whatnot. Yeah. And, we're talking about energy savings, carbon savings, and we've got some good stats in there as we've kind of already gone through.
Of course, yeah.
But in my head, I'd kind of positioned this big punchline that it was like, right, here's our new product. So our surface mount stud, which we're just about to get type approval for.
Yeah.
And it's got X number of percentage carbon reduction from manufacturing. We've got automation in manufacturing, so we can now output about 400% more per day.
Yeah, wow.
And the install practices means that we can actually roll out about 200% more in a single shift, so less impact on road closures and things like that. And I was kind of gearing myself up for this is going to be it. And before I pressed the button to go onto that slide, they cut my time.
Oh no!
So I was kind of like, wow, okay. And then after that, you kind of get into this kind of like barrage of questions, and you really have to show that your evidence base and you've got all the stats in your head. And there were two guys that went up, or two companies that went up before me. So I was third up.
Yeah.
And they got grilled.
So you know what's coming.
They got properly grilled, and I was just sat there, just kind of squirming around, going, "This is going to be awful."
There's a door behind me, or
I'm out of my depth here. This is going to be carnage. But all the questions they asked were amazingly the ones that I'd kind of geared up for on my next slide. So I kind of made a bit of a joke about how that was there. And it was all about scalability, because it's great that you're working with SMEs, and it was an SME pitch only. So we're all small companies. And what we needed to do is show that although we've got a solution, we've got an innovation, and we've got some evidence base that it works, we needed to prove that we could match the scalability that's required to actually roll this out en masse.
Yeah.
So luckily, because we've invested quite heavily in automation, so we've got our factory in the UK now is semi-automated. That means that actually we can meet that demand when the time comes.
Yeah.
And the ultimate aim of this Live Labs project, and for all of the different Live Labs projects, is obviously it's innovation. It's about learning, and failure is an outcome, and that's an acceptable outcome.
Of course.
But also adoption is a successful outcome, and obviously we're gunning for adoption. That's kind of where we see this heading to. So we need to tackle the British standards on street lighting design to make sure that people stop designing in streetlights on new roads that are being adopted, and putting forwards low carbon alternative solutions. So that's really the kind of final mission for Live Labs, and that's what we're going to be focusing on over the next 12 months, making sure that we start campaigning and lobbying to try and get this done. show the evidence base, prove the concept, and ultimately try and get adoption in the marketplace.
Yeah, just probably one more question for you. Is there any places where this has been adopted yet as a testing trial or?
Yeah, so there's as part of the Live Labs project, there's test beds. So East Riding of Yorkshire being the primary client sponsor for the session. They've got 2 big test beds that have been put out, and they've just turned off the lighting. So this last week they turned off the lighting. So this is kind of like a big step change. You know, a bold move by those guys on this project. And some of these test beds run through small villages.
Yeah.
And we've already had some early feedback from the residents that actually this has been really well received, because we're not just removing streetlights, we're replacing streetlights, and it's really important that narrative kind of comes through. Is it's an alternative to lighting, so we're not taking something away, not giving you anything back.
Yeah,
we're actually giving you low carbon, more cost efficient solutions.
Yeah.
Not only that, all of the biodiversity kind of benefits are coming out as well. So people are now saying, I can walk out of my house at night, I can look up and I can see the stars. And
what do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a Ryan's belt. There's a saucepan.
Exactly that. You know, you get all sorts of new hobbies out of that. Shooting stars,
out,
left, right, and centre. But yeah, that's a massive benefit that you kind of normalise street lighting, and it's like, why is it there? Certainly in places where it's not appropriate to have it. And we're not having a war on street lighting. That's really important to say. We're not trying to get every single street light scrapped. There's a reason why street lights exist in certain places. So low-level pedestrian lighting is appropriate. And that's going to be another kind of big outcome from this project. We're not involved in that piece, but it certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
So we just need to make sure that we're putting things in the right place and consciously. Especially with that kind of carbon mindset that we all need to have these days.
Yeah, is there something where you get dark skies makes also villages and things, house prices go up?
Exactly that, yeah.
So it's another benefit.
Areas of outstanding natural beauty,
Yeah.
Everyone wants to kind of have that experience. If you are moving to a village, you probably want a slightly quieter life and a slightly more relaxed way of life.
Yeah.
There's people that want to live in cities, and that's fine. That's not me.
They can have the lights.
Yeah, it could be someone. But yeah, the ability to walk outside your house at night and have that kind of relaxing environment is really important. If you're walking a dog at night, it's probably not too much of an ask to have a torch.
Exactly.
To be honest.
Your dog will lead you where you need to go anyway.
Exactly. Get them a light up collar and crack on.
Exactly. Couple of studs hanging around their neck.
Now we're talking.
Yeah,
New business idea. Okay, that's a bright idea.
Yeah, that is.
So yeah, that's the sort of thing. That's kind of where we're going with it, and it's really important that we get that feedback, and we get that really emotive kind of response from residents and areas where we're installing these things. So far, it's all looking really positive. There's another way to go. We need to make sure that where we're de-illuminating the network from a lighting perspective, we've got that evidence base, and making sure that we're not getting harsh braking events, we're not getting incidents with vehicles colliding into roundabouts or missing junctions. We're quietly confident because we've done a lot of those kind of nasty types of scenarios before. But the street lighting community network of street lighting managers at local authorities, do amazing work. They're all looking at this very closely to go, are we improving safety, or at least making the roads as safe as they were when lighting was there? And that's the evidence base that's being collected next.
Perfect. I want to thank you for coming on the Bright Ideas, Clear Views, Ralph.
No
it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks for
It
having
sounds
me.
like Live Lab's a bit of a no-brainer, but we'll see what the testing comes out.
Yeah, excellent. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.